Hey, we're back here with another video, and I'm going to be talking about the 2020 Toyota Corolla new 2-liter engine. So first thing I want to talk about, guys, just to give you guys clarification, please don't mind the background noise. I live on a very busy street where you enter and leave the neighborhood, so a lot of people are always coming and going. And then right outside the street is the main street that's on the on this side of the neighborhood. So it's a lot of like traffic. You hear a lot of people coming and going. I'm working on possibly getting a better setup, but for right now, hey, this is gonna have to work. Also, I would like you guys to comment on what you think about the camera quality. I got me an M50 on sale for Black Friday. But anyways, guys, 2-liter engine, my thoughts about it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the practicality of the engine. Taking a closer look, there's just several things on the engine that are just extremely practical, and that's just like one thing like a Toyota has a true hallmark for doing. It's just creating a really practical engine. So if we're looking at this right here, this is my air filter. Easily I can unclip these clips right here. So this clip I can unclip and I can access my air filter. Easy. Something like this I did on my Chevy Cruze, 2017 Chevy. I'm telling you guys, I will always use Chevy Cruze as an example. 2017 Chevy Cruze, I had to get a screwdriver. I had to remove one thing to get to it. It wasn't practical. I mean, something that simple as changing your air filter should not require any special tools. I mean, the way Toyota has it set up, I mean, it's absolutely perfect. So another thing, in terms of practicality, everything, even if you're a do-it-yourself kind of person, everything is within arm's length available for you to work on. We have the spark plugs on top of the engine with the coil packs. We have the spark plugs, and then they have it looks like a maybe 10 millimeter socket. You take the socket off, and then you can access your spark plug. I mean, there's no reason to be paying a dealer to do a tune-up. I mean, literally, you could do a tune-up in your driveway on a car like this, on a 2-liter engine like this, on a 4-cylinder Toyota. It's simple. Another thing is that you have the entire injection system is right here. So this 2-liter engine switches off between high pressure and low pressure system. So it has a port injection system, and it also has a high pressure direct injection. So this whole assembly right here is the direct injection assembly, and then everything feeds into the cylinders, and it will activate depending on the needs of the engine. So let's say you're calling for something, you're on the highway, you're trying to make a passing move. It will activate the direct injection because it's calling for a higher level of power for the engine to produce. But if you're just doing regular cruising around the city, or maybe just cruising to on the highway, it's going to be working in just the regular port injection method. And so in theory, Toyota believed that this would save fuel economy, and also it would save stress on the cylinder. A lot of people don't know that these direct injection systems, a great thing about them is that they give you great power output, but they make the valves really dirty. And they make the cylinder really dirty. It gunks up the entire cylinder, it gunks up the entire valve. So only using the direct injection when it's necessary. And then Toyota also recommends for this 2-liter engine, I'm pretty sure it's the same on their 1.8 liter. I don't know if the 1.8 liter has switched to the direct injection, but I know for this 2-liter direct injection, they do recommend that you run a cleaner through the fuel system every 5,000 miles. So maybe something like Seafoam. They have so many gas cleaners that you can use just to make sure that cylinder and that valve stays clean, so that you can have a healthy duration of service throughout the life of this vehicle. So I just wanted to touch on really quick the practicality. Then also you have your necessary fluids here for you wherever you might whichever you might need. So for example, you got your engine oil. Guys, on this vehicle, the transmission is sealed, so you do not have access to that from the hood. And a lot of manufacturers, I don't know why manufacturers are going to that route. I do like to be able to check my transmission fluid, but A lot of manufacturers, they're going with a steel transmission, and in theory, I guess it's to save space and to save weight. And I understand you're trying to maximize fuel economy, but I really would enjoy having a dipstick to check my transmission though. But you have all your necessary fluids. You got your brake fluid, you got your engine oil, and you got your coolant. There's no power steering on this vehicle. You have electric power steering, so you don't have to worry about any electric power steering. But everything in terms of practicality, everything is here. Your battery is right here. Literally, you just undo the terminals. You take this off, undo terminals. You can change your battery. Everything, your fuse box is right here. Your entire intake manifold is right here. I mean, this vehicle, even though it's 2020, and a lot of people are a bit afraid of a 2020 vehicle because they feel like, oh, it has all these modern computer systems and oh, it's just overcomplicated. But they really, Toyota, even though they've done things like direct injection and variable valve timing and stuff like that, they've still managed to keep the engine very simple and simplistic by modern standards. So another big thing about this particular engine is that there is no forced induction. A big thing that a lot of manufacturers, even Honda, kind of disappointed me when I found this out. But they're going with a forced inducted motor, and so what that does, it gives you higher power output. But I mean, in the Econobox, you just don't need that. You're trying to save fuel. You're trying to spend less on repairs and maintenance. Why would you go add an additional part that's going to eventually need servicing? You know, and you can try to engineer it and manufacture it as best as you can, but the problem with the turbos on these cars is that they're making them in an Econobox, and they're suggesting to people that you run them on 87 octane fuel, but everybody knows anything that's pumping that amount of force into the cylinders, you want to be running a higher octane. And that's why generally you see turbos used in performance applications, because there's a higher compression ratio in those engines to accommodate that turbo and that additional pressure and stress on the engine. But they claim by modern standards that they've been able to engineer this in such a way that you can run it on 87 fuel, it'll be reliable, you'll never have any issues. I don't buy it, and that's why I got me this basic old Toyota 2020 Corolla 2-liter engine, 170 horsepower, naturally aspirated, no forced induction, and I think that just adds to the level of reliability when you come and you think about this Toyota. Next thing I do want to touch on, guys, is the real world use of it, because okay, we could talk about the practicality of repairs and the reliability of it, but let's talk about the real world use. So in real world use, guys, for you people that don't understand my technical language, real world use, this car is great. It has a lot of low end torque, and I don't know if that's because I'm equipped with the CVT. Maybe it's different if you have the manual. Maybe you have a little bit more high end torque because you can really control the gears like that. But for me, even in manual mode, with the CVT and in sport mode, it just doesn't have that high end torque. I mean, you're trying to pass somebody on the highway and the engine is just it's just moaning. It ain't going nowhere. It's just making a bunch of noise. But low end torque, 0 to 60, guys. 0 to 60 is amazing. 0 to 60, you will fly. You will fly. I mean, I haven't been able to burn rubber, but you will fly 0 to 60. Really great engine. On a low end aspect. High end torque, not really that good. Additionally, also do want to say the engine is really quiet. It's a really quiet engine, and to me, it runs like a sewing machine. The engine, I mean, you could just tell. I don't know about for some of you guys, but I'm a really technical person, and I like to look at the particular details of an engine and how exactly it was crafted, what materials were made, how exactly everything works together. And I mean, when you listen to this engine run, you just hear quality, guys. You're not hearing, okay, well, it's so. I mean, it's new, so it ain't supposed to sound bad. You hear a very quality, durable engine. And I know you guys are probably like, what are you talking about? I mean, dude, the engine's new, but I mean, you guys, I know you guys have heard some engines that just they just you know a bad engine. For you technical people out there, and you feel me on it, you know a bad engine, or you know a poorly built engine when you hear it. It just doesn't sound right. And this engine right here, 2-liter engine, sounds like, runs like a sewing machine. Sounds great. Overall, it's a great engine for practical application, reliability, and real world use. I mean, it's just a great engine. There's nothing that I can complain about. Toyota did a really great job on this engine. And like I said, I'm so glad that they did not fall into the hype like these other manufacturers going with the forced induction. Keep it simple. Go with what you know. And I think that's a reason why a lot of people buy these Toyota vehicles, because they're not overly complicated cars. They're simple cars. They're commuter cars. They're built to be reliable, and they're built to stand the test of time. So guys, thank you so much for tuning into this video. I truly hope that you guys enjoyed it and got some great insight out of it. Let me know what the quality is looking like. I'm trying to come out with some better videos, guys. Trying to ump up my quality of video. So let me know what you think about the video. Give me you guys' thoughts on what you think about different engines from different manufacturers. Just in closing, I'll close like this with the 2017 Chevy Cruze. I really, actually, when I first got the car, I thought something was wrong with it, because there was always this wheezing sound. It was always this wheezing sound. Then I got to doing some Googling, and they said that's the turbo humming. So, I mean, guys, the engine is just quiet. It sounds great. So I want to know what you guys think about engines from other manufacturers. By far, I think Honda and Toyota produce the best quality of engine. I just really wish, like I said, Honda didn't go with the forced induction on an Econobox. Now, if you want to put that in an SI or something, okay, I get that. But on an Econobox, on just a base Civic, or on just a base Accord, what? Come on now, nobody in an Econobox is trying to be racing a M4 BMW or a Rolls Royce going on the street. We know we're gonna lose. We know we not in the game for that. So I wish these manufacturers would go back to the reliability aspect of things and just make a solid vehicle. So, and I really feel like Toyota did their best job on this vehicle. This is truly a great engine right here. So, like I said, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed me, if you like me, subscribe. And until next time, my name is Joseph Malone, and I'm out. Peace.